Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, welcome. And if you've watched some of my videos before, welcome back. Today, we're going to be diving into some more interesting Reddit stories while I play around in my Minecraft world. Just before I get started, I wanted to let you guys know if you have a story of your own or a story that you found online that you would think would be an interesting read, let me know. Send it to the email in the description below. I'd appreciate it and I can read it in the next video. Anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the stories. Our first story is titled, Have You Ever Had an Old Match from a Dating App Reach Out to You Years Later? I, 32 female, matched with a guy, 32 male, about 5 years ago on Hinge. I was very attracted to him when I met him in person. He was quiet, introverted, shy, the complete opposite of myself. We had one date, which I thought went well, but things fizzled out. I didn't think much of it at all at the time because he was very new to our city and he was setting up his business. All in all, we talked for about a week. Anyway, I moved away from home and moved on. There were quite a few dates I had that went on where things just didn't work out, but this guy was always in the back of my head. I ended up finding someone else who I dated for about the next 4 years. 2 years ago, I was back home. I was eating at a new chicken sandwich place and posted about it on Instagram. It turned out that the guy I had gone on a date with actually owned it. He DM'd me and told me to let him know next time I go. I never had a chance to go back to the restaurant, but if I can use that as a reason to see him, I'd be more than happy to go eat another chicken sandwich there. Sounds pretty simple so far, right? Here's why I'm super anxious. A few months ago, I was going through my contacts. I saw his name, and when I clicked on it, the call went through. It was so awkward, and out of panic, I hung up and blocked the number. Then unblocked it later, so I'm not even sure if he even reached out at all. I'm moving back to my city in a few months, and when I was cleaning up my Instagram DMs, I came across his message about letting him know the next time I go eat at his restaurant. I am visiting my family this weekend and thought about replying to him and asking him if he's still around and was thinking about getting some food from the restaurant. The chicken sandwich was good, and I'd even go if he wasn't there. I don't know if he's in a relationship or not because he doesn't post anything on social media, but my gut feeling says no. I don't want to come off as a weirdo messaging him after all of these years. We talked for about a week max, so there wasn't even any solid foundation built between us. So I'm asking you guys here for advice and how you would feel if you were in his shoes and a girl you went on a date with years ago hit you up. And that story is now over. Okay, in my opinion, I do not think it would be weird if the poster reached out to him. I know it's been some time, but it sounds like you moved away. That's a valid reason, not to respond. And if you're coming to visit your family, so you will be back in town for the week or weekend, I think it's valid and okay to reach back out and say, hey, I'm in the city again. Would you want to hit up your restaurant? At the end of the day, the worst, in my opinion, that he can say is no. And then from there, you can kind of think, okay, he's probably in a relationship. That's why he said that. But he could say yes, and you don't know where things could go from there. So I think ask. I feel like the risk is worth the reward in this situation. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into another story. So, the next story is on a subreddit titled Ask Reddit, and the description is Forest Rangers. What are your unexplainable and downright creepy stories? Someone replied to this from a now deleted account, but the story goes I told this story on Let's Not Meet, but I'm happy to tell it again. In 2016, my boyfriend, now my husband, and I went camping in eastern Pennsylvania. The place we decided to stop for the night was primitive. Camping was free, no cell service, barely a road, etc. We did encounter two other people. They might not factor into what happened later at all, but they were creepy, so I'll describe them here. The first was a woman who had her truck off to the side of the road. a little as we drove past. She had the hood open and seemed to be waiting for someone to stop and offer to help. Usually, my boyfriend had no problem helping someone, but he said this time something about her put him off. She really didn't seem like she needed help, and usually people who need help look at you hopefully as you approach. She looked like she expected we would stop. That's why my boyfriend, at least that's what my boyfriend said, anyways. I hadn't really noticed anything that strange about her. The next person we came across, when we had a chosen spot and were setting up a fire for hot dogs. I had noticed people drive by a few times, but my boyfriend pointed out each time was the same car, and the man in the car watched us each time he passed. My boyfriend was a little uneasy about this, but we had driven around for a little while before finding a place we liked. It had been raining and everything was muddy, and we wanted the driest site possible. He could have been doing the same thing, we briefly thought, about moving, but the road was muddy too. If he wanted to find us, all he had to do was follow the tracks. There were some other tracks, but not many. He'd only have to backtrack a little to locate us again. He didn't come by another time, so we stayed and spent the next several hours before dark goofing off. No one else drove by. Whether or not those two had anything else to do with our experience, the real fear came later. We had gone to sleep in our tent, and sometime around 3 a.m., we were awoken by this very loud noise. I can't describe it very well or even remember exactly what it sounded like, but my boyfriend said it reminded him of a chain gun revving up. It was also similar to how it would sound if someone recorded a shovel being dragged over gravel and played it over a loudspeaker, and another way he described it. He jumped up and looked out the window, but couldn't really see anything. The sound repeated itself another few times. I was too scared to speak, so my boyfriend whispered that it was probably miles off and I should go back to sleep. I didn't question this, as I figured loud sounds could easily be heard miles away. After we left, he told me it sounded like he had actually been coming from just down the road, but he didn't want to freak me out. Looking back, I probably should have wondered why he would both bother to whisper if apparently the sound was far off. I was still terrified. Every little thing I heard outside sounded like someone was walking around the tent. We laid there for a while longer when finally my boyfriend told me to get dressed because we were leaving. I got alarmed by this, and even more alarmed when he unwrapped the machete we had bought just for this trip from its plastic before opening the tent. We quickly packed up and loaded the car. I looked around for footprints that weren't our own, but despite the moon providing plenty of light, I couldn't really see. I did point something out my boyfriend hadn't noticed though before we got into the car. There was a beer can by our dead fire that hasn't been there before. We didn't even bring beer. While we were driving away, my boyfriend explained that he was nervous someone might have been trying to lure us out, so he didn't think it was a good idea to run from the tent right away. He also was half expected to find our gas tank had been siphoned out, but that wouldn't have stopped us because we had a hybrid car. We joked that would make a pretty funny hybrid commercial. Number of brutal murders avoided by driving a hybrid, 2. We only joked because we were about shitting ourselves from fear and adrenaline even then. The rest of the trip, we stayed only in well-populated campsites, or we got a hotel room. And that is the end of the story. That is a pretty crazy story. It really does sound like someone was potentially trying to lure them of their out of their campsite, basically, like to leave their shelter and wander out to see what the heck that noise was, to get out of their tent. That is crazy. I would have done the same thing as them. But I probably, the first time I would have heard it, I would have got up and tried to leave that place as soon as possible. But that is pretty crazy. And that's why I don't go camping. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Pretty crazy story overall. Happy the poster and her now husband are both fine. And yeah, let's go ahead and dive into our next story. Our next story is titled, Am I in the Wrong for Telling My Ex-Husband that our kids are justified in feeling like they don't have a father. I'm 33 and I have two children, 12 years old and 8 years old. I divorced their dad when I discovered he was cheating on me with a mom from our younger son's school group. Despite that betrayal, I agreed to share custody because I wanted my kids to grow up with their father in their lives. However, since the divorce, he's only been around when he's picking them up for visits. He often goes out with his stepchildren, but rarely includes our children, claiming those outings are spur of the moment and can't always include them. Eventually, I stopped pushing, but I've always thought it was unfair that he keeps his distance from our children's lives. Recently, I decided to upgrade my older son's computer. He asked if he could give his old one to his cousin, my brother's son. My brother has been a huge support for my kids. He's always available to take them to their school events when I can't, and often takes them out to the park or for trips when I'm busy. My ex, on the other hand, is rarely available for them. Anytime I ask him to help with an activity, he has an excuse. He's out of town or swamped with work. Ironically, though, whenever his stepkids need something, he's always there. Once, he even argued with his stepkid's father at a school event, insisting he had the right to be there. When my ex found out I gave the computer to my nephew, he got upset. He complained that if I had money to spare on a gift like that, I should have forgiven 2 months of child support that he has missed, since his finances were tight with a new baby. He added that if I could give away a computer, I should have gifted it either to his kids or his stepkids, who share just one computer among the three of them. I told him my finances were none of his business and that I owed him and nothing to his stepchildren. Then his wife jumped into the conversation, accusing me of spoiling my son by giving him a new computer and of being petty for letting my son bring it to their house, claiming it was just to show off in front of his siblings. I told her she had no right to speak to me that way or question my decisions. I added that I allow my kids to see their father so they can grow up with him in their lives, not so she can interfere with how I parent. My ex was offended, but I told him the situation could have been avoided if his wife hadn't inserted herself where she doesn't belong. After that, things seemed to calm down until last week. I went to pick up the kids, and my ex was visibly upset. He explained that he'd tried reading a bedtime story to our youngest at home. He still likes to read before bed, usually by me, his brother, or my brother. And when none of us are around, he listens to audiobooks. Apparently, my ex wanted to make an effort to connect, so he offered to read to him, but our son turned him down, saying he didn't need for him to do that because he could do it himself. My ex stayed to listen as he searched for a story for 8-year-olds without a dad on his tablet, and it hit him hard. The next day, my ex offered to take our older son to basketball practice, but he replied that he'd be going with his dad. He quickly corrected himself and said, "Uncle." That made my ex even angrier. When I came up to pick the kids up, he confronted me about it. I told him that if our kids feel like they don't have a father, he has only himself to blame. He tried to shift the blame onto me, saying I was the one pushing him away from his role. I told him it's up to him to show up for his kids, not something I can do for him. I reminded him he was the one who broke our family, and he's chosen to be more involved with his stepkids than his own children. I told him not to kid himself. The kids are growing up, and they're starting to see the reality of who he is as a father. If he keeps this up, he can't expect much more from them in the future. After that exchange, his mom called me. While she's always been polite to me, I felt the need to say that I would be appreciated the same concern from her when she supported her son's affair, knowing her grandchildren were losing their father in the process. She hung up, and we haven't spoken since. My brother advised me that I had every right to express how I feel, but he suggested that maybe this discussion shouldn't have happened in front of my kids. Later, my ex texted me saying that if I weren't so difficult, he'd spend more time with them. I told him his duty as a father doesn't depend on whether I'm easy or not, and he knows I've never prevented him from seeing the kids. The truth is, when he has to choose, he prefers outings with his stepkids over his own children, and that's something only he can change. And that is the end of the story. So I think the poster is definitely in the right, and this her ex-husband is definitely in the wrong. It sounds like he is trying to weasel his way out of any, basically not having to take care of his own children, basically trying to almost, in a way, leave them, doing the bare minimum. And then he gets mad when essentially his kids or his ex wife, which is the poster, calls him out on doing the bare minimum. It sounds like that the kids really think that their real dad is their uncle because that's who is around them more and actually does stuff for them. And it's not wrong to spoil your kids. Believe it or not. So it's crazy that like the ex-husband and the new wife were mad when she bought her son a new computer. That is ridiculous. That you're allowed to spoil your own children. So it's just crazy, and it feels like the husband is trying to just the ex-husband is trying to just weasel his way out of doing dad duties for his own kids because he's almost trying to, I don't know, in my opinion, kind of leave them for his new life with his new wife and her kids. Anyways, let me know what you guys think down in the comments, but that's a pretty crazy story. But let's go ahead and dive into our next story. The next story that we're going to dive into is another ghost story that I just started reading ghost stories in the last video. So let me know if you guys enjoy these. If you do, I'll continue to read some. And if you don't, I'll stop. They won't be in the next few videos. But like I said, just let me know down in the comments section. Let's go ahead and get into it. Well, this brings back some very traumatic memories of my life, but here goes nothing. It was 2011. I was 16 years old at the time. I used to play basketball. Our team went to play a tournament in some small town. All teams would stay in school and were allotted different classrooms. It was late at night, and me and along with a few friends sneaked out late just to get some air. The school was located outside town, and there was nothing nearby. We sat down beneath a tree and were just enjoying the breeze. I could still remember the figure I saw. A thin, lean, tall figure in dirty white clothes, and the face was like a sick child, but it was elongated. The face looked like that of a 3 or 4 year old child. I panicked. We ran. My friend told me he didn't see anything, but ran as I panicked, and so he did too. The tournament happened. 2 days later, we returned. That eerie feeling stayed, and I developed pain in my traps and shoulders over time. All day long, I remember my ride back from the tournament. My shoulders were killing me. Upon return, I couldn't study, practice, or go to the gym due to the shoulder pain. We consulted many doctors, ortho, neuros, but nothing could diagnose my issue. Muscle relaxants helped, but they were only temporary. With time, pain persisted, but many family members and friends noticed a change in my posture. My shoulders were getting down, traps were almost gone, shoulders sinking. Again, the doctors were completely clueless on what was happening to me. I told my parents about the figure that I saw. My dad insisted to get Hawans and Pujas involved. We got it done, no changes. Then my dad told us to go visit a voodoo doctor in a remote village. We traveled for some hours, I remember. There were some 2 to 3 families before us. As soon as I entered the office, it went into a frenzy, chanting things, and they sent me into a separate area. The doctor described the exact thing I saw to my parents and told them that it was sitting on me, like on my shoulders, legs hanging, like a child sits on a parent's shoulders. It was scary. I had been alone so many times during this period, alone with this thing. I was having an anxiety attack. They performed a ceremony on me for what seemed like an hour until I passed out. When I woke up, I was in a car on the way back home, still scared, but the pain was gone. It took me years to sleep alone again. Still, I'm very afraid of things. I do not go out at night. Never travel alone unless it's an emergency. I don't talk about it to this day. So, looking into the story a little bit more, it looks like this poster is from India. Just reading a little bit more about what what his experience and what Hawans and Pujas were. And this is actually on, looking at it now, is on r/Delhi, India. But that is crazy. Going to some voodoo doctor to cure whatever this thing was that was basically on him that he saw in the middle of the night. That is a crazy, crazy story. I'm happy nothing like that has ever happened to me. But like I said, let me know what you guys think of these spooky slash scary slash ghost stories. And if you like them, I'll continue to read them in future videos. And if not, I will go back to kind of our typical like wholesome slash am I in the wrong stories. But yeah, just let me know down in the comments. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into another story. Our next story is titled, Am I Wrong for Divorcing My Wife Even Though She Took Steps to Correct and Fix Our Marriage? Long story short, I found my wife had been having an affair on New Year's Eve as I sat at home with our children. After ignoring calls from not only me, but our daughter asking where she was, I went through our phone records to see that while she ignored our calls, she was accepting calls and texting another number quite frequently. For the record, it was the first time in over 12 years of being together that I'd ever gotten a gut feeling to do so. Never checked them prior to that night. Called the friends who she was supposed to be with, and they ignored my calls as well. After confronting her through text at around 4 or 5 a.m., she was home within 5 minutes, screaming at me and yelling at me as I tried to sleep. Got blamed for everything even though I'd been loyal and the financial breadwinner our entire marriage. She ended up gaslighting me and trickle-truthing me as I tried to keep things together for our children. I'll spare you all the details as they can be found in the previous update and original post. Fast forward to today, I have filed for divorce against my family's wishes. Whole other story also answered in previous update. We are separated, but the divorce can't be finalized until next year. 1 year of being separated is required. She begged and begged for me not to go through with it, begged me to stay, not to toss everything out over one little mistake. Funny how she sees infidelity as a mistake that lasted over 3 months. Yeah, right. Regardless, I spend a lot of time with my kids. She sees them on weekends if she chooses. Has only been a couple of times. I'd love to say that I'm over it all, but I'm still healing. I really did love her, and I really wish things worked out differently. But I can truly never trust her again. She tried everything she could sexually to get me to stay. Hell, the day she finally confessed everything, I came home to her dressed up like never before, ready to go. I politely declined. She went as far as offering me favors every day for the rest of our lives if I stayed. I'd been working and taking care of the kids. It's harder on them than it is me, but if I'm being honest, they just still don't understand. I've just been telling them mommy has some things she's working on. I don't have the heart to tell them we won't be a functional household anymore at this point. Also, my parents haven't talked to me one time or reached out to me since I told them I was filing for divorce, not even to check on my kids or anything. But I've been making this work with the help of my brother and a few good friends. A few girlfriends from the past have hit me up to see if I want to catch up, but I need to focus on myself and my kids. Thank you all for reaching out and for DMing me and commenting. And then there's an edit at the bottom. To clarify, because people are asking about the 3 months, I have records proving she heavily texted him for 3 months straight, thousands of times a month. If I'd checked sooner, I'd have known, but nothing was amiss in our home until New Year's Eve. Also, she admitted through a snap video sent to me that she kissed him one time but instantly regretted it. It meant nothing. It's not like when you and I kiss. I feel a deep connections. I get butterflies every time you touch me. I messed up. I really messed up, and I'm so sorry I did this to you. If you need a divorce, I understand, but I really want to give this another shot to start fresh. And that story is now over. I really think that this poster did the right thing. It sounds like he stayed strong, is still there for his children, supporting his children. And honestly, if your partner is cheating on you, I think that's the best thing that you can do. You can just break off the marriage, file for divorce, and just continue to be there and be as, the best parent that you possibly can. Some of the comments on this post are really just how I feel. The top comment I really resonated with. I share the same sentiment. They write, she is toxic and now a desperate woman trying to resurrect the house and the financial security she burned to the ground. Thankfully, you have family and friends to help you out. Start to look forward to a life without her and in the full time. Appears she doesn't even miss the kids. She is pathetic. And I agree. It sounds like to me the only reason she wants to come back is for basically because he's always been the breadwinner and supported her financially. That's what it sounds like to me. And once that was going to be gone, like she wasn't going to get rid of this guy on the side until he found out. Because she, for whatever reason, sounds like she enjoyed the thrill or whatever it was. But once she was going to lose that financial backing, it's like, wait, 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 I want to come back to you. And good on the poster for sticking to their guns, filing for divorce, and then being there for their children. But, anyways, let me know what you guys think of that post down in the comment section below. And let's go ahead and dive into another story. Our next story is titled, Am I in the Wrong for Telling My Wife to Divorce Me Because I'm Not Forcing Adoption on My Daughter? I, 33 male, have an 8-year-old daughter, Ella, with my ex. I have full custody of her. I'm married to Laura, 30 female, and we have 2 kids together. Ella's mom is a train wreck. Alcohol, drugs, multiple arrests, and a lot of personal issues. She has not seen Ella for around a year now. She did have supervised visits ordered by the court, but she didn't always make those due to hospitalizations, arrests, and etc. I've been dating Laura since Ella was 2 years old, so she's very familiar with Laura, but doesn't call her mom, and she still loves her mom and wishes her mom would get better and be a real mom to her. I have her in therapy to help her process everything. Laura knew how things were when we started dating, and she knew how it was when we got married. I always made it clear that my priority was my daughter, her safety, health, and happiness, and I told her I understood if it got to be too much and she didn't want to commit. But she said she was on board for it all. Only now she's tired of my ex reappearing every so often, and she wants to adopt Ella so my ex can't have any access to her ever again. She does love Ella and sees her as hers, but she's just as much as mine. But the main reason she's being so forceful is severing my ex's rights, who would get her out of the picture until Ella's 18 years old and chooses to look for her mom on her own. Laura says this is what's best for her and for all of us, but Ella doesn't want to be adopted by Laura, even if her mom never gets better. She doesn't want to be adopted. I respect this and I won't force it, but Laura isn't happy. She said we have the other 2 kids to think about as well, and how Ella might pull away from us if her mom causes more trouble in the future. She might choose her over us. I said that could happen even if she adopts her, and I said it will definitely happen if we force this. Laura and I have discussed this numerous times now, and she told me she doesn't see our marriage surviving if I won't talk to Ella and get her around to doing this, or get a therapist who will. She said she will not keep up being her stepmom when Ella's mom won't put her first. While she has been and doesn't get the benefit of legal stability of adoption, she said I only had 2 options and needed to decide which I wanted. I told her to divorce me then because I'm not forcing the adoption on my daughter. Laura did not expect my answer and she told me she thought I'd offer to speak to Ella more. That I clearly don't care about our marriage. I said I do, but she gave me 2 options and one option never happened. And I can't control if she divorces me for it. Am I in the wrong? That story is now over. I definitely don't think the poster's in the wrong. I get the new wife, how she feels, but at the same time, it's pretty cruel if her stepdaughter wants to try to connect with her mom. I get why she probably doesn't want the mom around because she probably thinks that she's not the best influence on her stepdaughter. But at the end of the day, that's not your daughter. If she wants to pursue a relationship with her real mom, then let her do that. You know what I mean? I feel like it's really cruel to try to force adoption on her. That way, she can basically sever the ties between her stepdaughter and her real mom until she's 18. That is crazy, and I do commend the father for basically standing up for his daughter so that she still has like rights and is able to actually, albeit not often probably, but see her real mom. So yeah, I think the poster is definitely in the right. It sucks that he had to basically try to force divorce, to cut ties completely with his new wife over this situation. Uh, but I think he is, at the end of the day, making the right decision uh, with basically saying what he had to say and telling her how he truly feels and standing up for his daughter, which he had said at the beginning of the relationship that his daughter is always going to come first. So this should not be shocking to his new wife, but it seems like it is. But anyways, let me know what you guys think of that story down in the comments below. Let's go ahead and dive into another story. The next story is a quick one, and it is titled, I Witnessed Something I Was Never Supposed to See. A few days ago, I saw one of our neighbor's wives cheating on her husband with another man in a place that was fairly secluded. Her husband is a genuinely nice person, and I have a lot of respect for him. Ever since I saw what happened, I haven't been able to stop feeling sorry for him. She has no idea that I saw her. Now I'm torn apart. Part of me wants to tell him the truth, while another part of me feels like I should stay out of it and let them deal with their own lives. What do you do in my situation? Any advice? That story is now over. Okay, in my opinion, you definitely tell him if you have respect for this person, you don't want him to continue to live kind of this lie, unfortunately, that he's having to live, that he's in this relationship with his wife and they're, I don't know, I'm assuming from his point of view, everything is fine. When she's cheating on him behind his back, that is crazy. I think for sure tell them, especially if it's someone that you know and you seem to care about in some degree. I mean, you see that you'd say that he's a great person, so I'm assuming you know him somewhat. So I would definitely tell them this is not a situation where you just let them live their lives, at least in my opinion. The top comment, I share the same sentiment as them and how I feel, and they kind of have a similar perspective. At least they kind of were on the other side of this. She says, as the wife of someone who cheated, and I later found out many others knew about this through gossip, I was upset that not a single person stepped up and told me. And that's how I feel. I feel like she needs to step up and tell the husband what's going on. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Our next story is titled, I'm Planning to Confess My Feelings. I'm 33, single. He's 48, a single dad and a widower with 3 kids. He's also my office mate, and to make things even more complicated, he's my 2-up at work. We've been close since last year. We have lunch and coffee together almost every day at work, and a lot of people have noticed how much time we spend together. This year, we've gotten even more close and have gone out alone a few times outside of work. The problem is, I like him, and every day my feelings grow stronger. It's becoming harder and harder to keep them to myself. I probably would have confessed a long time ago if he weren't my superior, but that makes the situation much more complicated. At this point, I'm thinking of telling him, not because I expect anything in return, but because I want peace of mind. I genuinely believe our friendship is strong enough to survive the conversation, whatever the outcome may be. Has anyone been in a similar situation? I'd really appreciate any advice, especially from people who've navigated workplace feelings or confessed to someone in a position of authority. That story is now over. I don't know. This one's a tough one, guys. I feel like, I don't know, I would not pursue a relationship at work if I was single, especially someone that's a superior. if you say something and it doesn't go the right way, I don't know. I just think that you could maybe get I always think worst case scenarios. So I'm like, could you get fired? Could you get them fired? Could you get transferred? Could they get transferred? That's just where my thought is. And you don't want to ruin a great working relationship that you have with someone, especially like a superior at your work. I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel. Probably wouldn't say anything, and I would try to find somebody else that's outside of your workplace. That's just how I feel, guys. I get that some people meet their significant other at work, but that one's tough. I don't know. Like, that's a good one to let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I'm like 50-50. I see both sides, and I think I'm kind of on the side of not saying anything and just keeping that positive, good work relationship going. But that's just my opinion. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Alrighty, guys. I think that's gonna do it for me today. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. It means a ton. I do these videos in my free time, and I just want to make them enjoyable for you guys. At the time of this recording, it's actually a month to the day that I posted my first YouTube video on this channel, and currently we are at 131 subscribers. I genuinely cannot believe that. That is crazy to me that so many of you have not only tuned into my videos, but you've decided to stick around and want to listen to more of them. So again, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. It really does mean the world to me. It means so much that you guys want to stick around, you enjoy my videos, and you want to see more from me. So I know I say this in almost every video, but if there's any way that I can improve my videos for you, please let me know down in the comments below. I'm trying to do a little bit longer of format videos. I just released an hour-long video, so if you guys haven't watched that already, please feel free to go over and watch that if you have the time. I think that's a really good video, and I hope you enjoyed this video, which is a little longer than our typical videos. So if you enjoyed, leave a like if you'd like. That would be epic. If you would like us to subscribe, that would even be more epic. And like I said, if there's any way I can improve these for you, feel free to leave a comment and let me know. But yeah, I think, like I said, that's going to do it for me today. Last thing, I know I said this in the beginning, but if you have a story that is your own that you'd like me to read, or maybe just one that you found on Reddit yourself or online somewhere else, but you would like me to read and react to, feel free to send it to the email in the description below, and I will try to get to it and read it in the next video. Alrighty, guys. Love you guys. Thanks again. Talk to you later. Peace.